In this lesson, we will review the replication topologies of our AD forest where we have only one site. First of all, we will document the replication connections of all domain controllers in the AD forest. Then we will draw the replication connections between domain controllers in each domain. After that, we will draw the replication connections between domain controllers from one domain to other domains in the AD forest. And finally, we sum up our lesson with the keynotes. Let's document the replication connections in our AD forest. To do that, we need to open Active Directory sites and services. Here we click on the site name, then click on the servers folder. Then we click on individual domain controllers, then click on NTDS settings. And here are the replication connections from these domain controllers to OPVDC01. Now we can click on GPVDC01 and click on NTDS settings. Here are the replication connections from these domain controllers to GPVDC01. Now click on GPVDC02 and here are the replication connection from the domain controllers to GPVDC02. Now let's click on GPVDC11 and here are the replication connections from these domain controllers to GPVDC11. Let's click on HPVDC02 NTDS setting and here are the replication connections from these domain controllers to HPVDC02. Now let's click on the NTDS settings on HPVDC03 and here are the replication connections from these domain controllers to HPVDC03. We can take note of these connections and diagram the connection. However, to make our life easier, I wrote a PowerShell script that can do it for us. All we need to do is to run the script and it documents the replication connection from one domain controller to all other domain controllers in the AD forest, and we can use these informations to diagram our replication connections. From the script, we can document the replication relationship between the source and the destination domain controllers in the AD forest as in this table. Let's now draw the replication connections for the domain controllers in the domain IT_lifeskills.local. As we know, we only have two domain controllers in the IT_lifeskills.local domain, which are GPVDC01 and GPVDC02. From the table, we can see that there is the replication connection from GPVDC01 to GPVDC02 and from GPVDC02 back to GPVDC01. So domain controllers in a domain automatically form partnership with each other. Let's now draw the replication connections for these domain controllers in the domain hq.it_lifeskills.local. From the table, we can draw the replication connections from GPVDC11 to HPVDC02 and HPVDC03, and from OPVDC01 to HPVDC02 and to HPVDC03, and from HPVDC02 to OPVDC01 and GPVDC11, and from LHPVDC03 to OPVDC01 and to GPVDC11. As you can see, when there are two or more domain controllers in the domain, the replication connections are being performed in a ring topology, which means each domain controller has two partners. Let's now draw the replication connections between domain controllers in the domain it_live_skills.local and the domain controllers in the domain hq.it_live_skills.local. From the table, we can draw the replication connections from GPVDC01 to other domain controllers in the domain hq.it_live_skills.local and from GPVDC02 and from GPVDC11 and from LPVDC01 and from LHPVDC02 and from LHPVDC03. As you can see, the replication topology between domain controllers in a multiple domain ID forest become much more complicated. The replication connections between domains are used for schema replication, domain configuration replication, and global catalog replications. This is the end of this lesson. Let's read the keynotes.